apologize for us getting a little bit of a late start, but we had our Manor Haven Red Devils here, who undefeated swimming season, so we were all very happy to see them, and so unfortunately just a few minutes late. But glad to see all of you. If you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Wink, if you please call the meeting to order.
Town of North Hempstead Board Meeting, Tuesday, September 7, 2017. Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Here.
Councilman Ferrara.
Here.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Here.
Councilwoman Russell.
Here.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Here.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Here.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Here. So following our town board procedures, we do have 30 minutes of public comment for any matter that's not on our agenda. So Mr. Wink, I don't know if you have any cards?
We have several, the first of which is Thomas Hogan. Is my mic on?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Mr. Hogan.
I'll try to make this brief because I know everyone wants to get home on such a nice evening. I'm a resident of 22 3rd Avenue in Garden City Park for about 30 years now. I'm finding out that the rental permit process is a little bit different than when I last applied for the rental permit when the process started back, I guess, around 2003 or 2004. I forget when it actually started. But what happens is when I try to basically apply for the permit itself starts you off with issues that you have to put down tenant's information, you have to put down date of birth, you have to basically put down pedigree information that if you're not even allowed to advertise for your particular unit, even though I only have a two-family house, it's obviously an apartment I'm trying to rent, it doesn't make sense. So in essence, you'd actually have to violate the law to actually determine if you can even get a rental permit. You have to make up a name or whatever the thinking is, that the process itself doesn't make sense. Even getting past that, since the permit was basically submitted, I've been having nothing but problems to get everything corrected that was in my house back when I first got my first rental permit. Something as simple as a gas boiler that was changed about 13 years ago. I'm finding out that there's so many requirements for that, pressure tests. I can't even get straight answers as to what you even need done to get this corrected. This whole rental process, I understand maybe it was geared toward larger buildings. I have a two-family home. I have no more family members left. I just lost my mother, who was actually living in the other unit.
I'm sorry.
So I never thought about becoming a landlord. Seeing people on my block selling their homes that are two-family homes because they don't even want to be bothered with this process is not right. I saw one right next to me do this, where he finally just said, I've fed up. The process is such, it's not even really something anybody wants to bother to do. And I can see in my 30 years of being here, the building department hasn't changed. I went through the building department years ago to get permits when the building department was supposedly really corrupt. It's not really any different now. I'm not necessarily saying it's corrupt, but it's basically not set up and geared toward help people. I'm sick from 9/11. I've made 6 trips putting off doctor's appointments just to try to get this rental permit, and I don't even have a tenant yet. This doesn't make any sense. Something's got to be done, either to change this law or to make it a little more streamlined for people like me that don't have these multifamily dwellings that's just trying to rent my apartment.
So Mr. Hogan, I appreciate that you're here. Sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Our building commissioner, John Newender, is with us. So, John, if you could just come up and speak to this.
I've spoken to him already.
Okay, but
Just to make that clear.
so for the benefit, of all of us.
John Newender, Building Commissioner. Okay, it's unfortunate that Mr. Hogan has that bad taste in his mouth. I will say this, everything on an application, everything goes towards that application. All the requirements are listed on the page. We do not ask for names. By law, we're not allowed to do that. We ask for dates of birth. Dates of birth are on there to tell you how many occupants can be in the property. That's what that's about. We have made several attempts to do the inspection, and for reasons I probably don't want to discuss right now, we were not permitted to continue those inspections.
So perhaps, and I know that you've met before, but Mr. Hogan, perhaps we could try again
Absolutely.
to see how this can be worked out, because the building department really is all about being there for our residents. So let's see, I'm glad that you came to speak to us, but perhaps you can find a time to speak again and hopefully resolve this.
I would like to be at that meeting. Okay?
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Kristen Biggin.
Hi, Kristen Biggin, Carl Place Civic Association. Hi. At the last meeting that I attended, I had stated something about Westbury Avenue and the repaving. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that I was told that it is the county that is responsible for the sidewalks and that the town is responsible for the maintenance of the sidewalks? Okay, that's correct, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yes, that is correct.
That is
All right.
correct.
I'd like to call your attention to the western part of Westbury Avenue, especially right before you go to the overpass by the doctor's office, the brick building, by Silver Lake Boulevard. The sidewalk is cracked. It's completely uneven. It's lifted. During our Memorial Day parade, we had a physically challenged person fall, had a very bad fall and was injured. We had to call an ambulance because they fell because of the sidewalk. It is like that in many places, especially obviously in front of Albraca, and it's dangerous. And it was brought to the attention in May that this was done, and it's now September. And I know that it's slated to be redone. At this point, we don't know when, we don't know who's doing it, but if the town is responsible for the sidewalks, I would please like to try to get something so that nobody is hurt. It's dangerous for the children. It was dangerous for them on Memorial Day, and if that's, especially now that the children are back at school, and that's what they have to use to get to and from school, to use Westbury Avenue, especially if they're coming from my western part of Carl Place through Gun Cove Road, they have to use those sidewalks. It's dangerous, and we need something done right away. Thank you.
So I'm just, I wish that when that happened in May, that you had.
It was brought to the, I was told that it was brought to the attention
No.
of someone.
I know nothing of it, and I can see.
And we were actually out there a couple of weeks ago, several residents and myself and a traffic technician. We were out there just a little bit east of that, and
Okay.
it wasn't even brought up then. But we will have our highway department take a look at it.
Okay.
So thank you for bringing it
Thank
to
you
our
for-
our attention.
Thank you, and I also had brought up the fact that Wallbounds was unkempt, and it has been cleaned up, and I thank you for that.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you.
Betty Leong.
My name's Betty Leon from New Hyde Park, and I represent myself.
Okay. Hi, Betty.
All right. I got the information about we were redoing Michael J. Tully Park, and budget is very, very good. So there's just two things: the elevator, the concern about the elevator, and also I represent a bunch of pickleball players, and right now we're still looking for a place to play. Our indoor place is not ready yet, so we're waiting, and we're playing in Michael J. Tully Park. There's only 2 courts, and unfortunately, the courts are not ideal. It's cracked and sloped. So, but we're gonna play there until we get new courts. So, and I have petitioned here since Country G. Martin Park been renovated to provide us with new courts, not new courts, but like line court on Michael J. Country G. Martin Park tennis courts. I got a petition of all the pickup players and some supporters, and I want to present that to the town. And also, I have a letter I want to read. I don't want to read the letter, it's kind of lengthy. So you can, at your time, you read about pickleball and the purpose of it and how it's going to help the seniors keep active. All senior centers are in the 70s and 80s, and I'm trying to attract young seniors like my age in the 60s to come out and use the parks and have a nice game of pickleball court. Aye.
Well, clearly you have brought pickleball to North Hempstead, because before you started talking about it, I don't know that I had ever heard of it. But it's great that so many of our seniors are playing.
Thank you.
And I know that Commissioner Weber, made sure that those courts were done at Tully.
So anyway, we're gonna start this Friday because our indoor, and we're gonna have quite a number out. We were thinking, it's possible for us to line the adjacent court, but without tapes, for this Friday. We have a lot of people, because this way we don't have people wait.
So we have Commissioner Weber here.
Yes.
And she's nodding her head, so I don't know what that means.
We have a lot of people on Friday.
Wait, but Commissioner, if you could please come up.
Hi, Commissioner Jill Weber from the Parks Department. We're so excited that pickleball is becoming a popular sport in the town. We're always encouraging new people to come back to parks and use our facilities. So we did line one court at Tully. This is the first I'm hearing that a second you're interested in a second. You can play tennis and pickleball on the same court the way we line them. So I don't have any objection to putting a second pickleball court next to the other one. So we can do that. We also lined a court at Manor Haven Park this summer. And I understand about the CGM request. And Betty's given me that request before.
I'm quite sure she has. Okay, Betty, thank you. And so we'll work towards getting that second court lined for pickleball as well. Okay. Okay, you're welcome.
Angela Moscow.
Hi, Angela Moscow from New Hyde Park. And I have called the town for over 4 years about a particular property.
You
Can't hear.
Yeah, a little closer.
I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
I've called the town over 4 years about a particular property adjacent to my house, and it's getting progressively worse. I have pictures, so if you want to pass them around. It's 11 Flower Lane. I have a petition. All my neighbors, we can't help but notice it because I'd say 2 feet by maybe 1 feet or even more holes in the roof, and also the grounds are usually a mess. We're concerned about if the electrical is turned off, if they check for gas leaks, because sometimes, even if the gas is off, I don't know if there's a leak somewhere. And on a number of occasions, the side door was open. We saw chairs out in the backyard, and I had called the cops. And another time, we saw the side door open again. And I've heard from neighbors as I was going around getting signatures that kids have gone in there doing drugs. All they have to do is light a match and throw it on the floor. That whole place can go up in flames. So
So we have
calling and leaving a lot of messages. I also called the building department. They were supposed to send an inspector to check this. Then I heard from somebody.
All right, so we have our Commissioner of Public Safety, Sean Brown, and I think Sean would like to address that.
Supervisor, last year we issued a...
Could you speak into the mic?
Last year we issued a court appearance ticket to the property owner and also did property maintenance on the property, where we directed the highway department to remove their violations last year. The property has recently been assigned a new property management by the court. I spoke to the attorney today, who's the property manager for the property. She spoke to me, she assured me that she would have a landscaper clean up the property in the next few days. And that's in writing from the Guardian. I'll follow up with her on Monday or Tuesday.
So what we're going to ask, and I know you'll check it, but we'd like you to make sure that you let us know that has been done.
Right, it's like I was wondering if I should have your number.
Sure.
And also, if you want the petition. I mean, I can get more signatures.
No.
And what about the roof? I mean, if you don't put wood or something up there, it's just going to, things are just going to...
I'll make sure she's aware of the roof as well. And I'll schedule an appointment with her.
Is that it? I mean...
If she gives me access to the property, we can go through the property together.
All right, so this is important because we've gotten emails about this, and I know there's back and forth. We're sending an inspector. So, when they say one picture's worth 1,000 words, I mean, there are holes in this roof. That needs to be addressed.
So how long will it take for it to go to auction or whatever you do? I don't know.
That I don't know. I'm not an attorney, but I will talk to the Guardian, and we'll make corrections to the violations and make sure it's code compliant.
So, you make all the repairs? I don't know.
We're hopeful that the Guardian that was just appointed by the court very recently, we have been in contact with the court waiting for this to happen. It just happened within the last probably a few weeks, and we just found out about it 2 days ago, I believe. So we're going to encourage her, the guardian, to go to the court and seek the court to approve an expenditure of funds for them to do it.
Right.
So we don't have to.
And
But
how long do you think this, like, process
We'll
will
exchange
take?
phone numbers, and I'll keep you in the loop, and we can, as they progress, I'll let you know.
But I think one of the things you also need to do is make sure that that house is secured to stop the kids from going in and out. Because I think the bigger danger, bigger than the roof with animals getting in there, is people getting in there that could get hurt or cause a fire. So I would ask that you really focus on securing that building.
Possibly fencing it.
Okay, so thank you, Commissioner, thank you, and thank you so much for coming up.
Okay. Pete Gaffney.
Good evening, Pete Gaffney, 215 Harvey Street, Westbury.
Hi.
Hope everybody had a great summer. And,
You too.
now we're back to business, I guess.
Yes, we are.
For almost the past year, I've been trying to get New York State Department of Transportation to clean up the sides of the Meadowbrook Parkway at Westbury Avenue. It's littered with garbage, weed, there's rat infestation, there's vermin coming out of there, and it's really disgusting. I started with 2 state senators, both former and current. Went to the county, got nowhere. Out of frustration, and I even got contact with Governor Cuomo's office, got Governor Cuomo's Long Island liaison, there's a new one that was just appointed.
Yes.
Lisa Sammartino, terrific. She helped me get in contact. I had a crew out there. They did a horrendous job. I mean, the third graders could have done it. They didn't pick up one piece of garbage on one side. So out of frustration, I contacted Joe, North Hempstead, just to see, kind of throw my hands up, and Joe put me onto a bulldog by the name of Christine in her office. And, she's terrific. I'm just saying. I mean,
Yes, she is.
We have.
I just want to let you know that. And just thankful for her. She, over the holiday weekend, she wasn't even here, and she got somebody else to make a phone call. Lo and behold, right after the 4th of July weekend, it was a one-person crew, so I was kind of excited. One's better than none, right? So now they went to the other side. First they did the southwest side. Now they did the southeast side. Same thing. They don't cut anything below this height, approximately 3 feet, which is ridiculous. At least they did pick up some garbage, but it's still, the north side hasn't been touched. There's wires, the whole 9 yards. It's even frustrated some of the residents over there. He paid his gardener to hop over a fence with his lawnmower and actually cut a 5-foot, 6-foot section of weeds and whatnot that was encroaching his backyard pool. It's really frustrating. I'm going to still stay on top of them to try to get it, but I mean, is there any recourse that the town has where if the state is negligent, that they could actually come in and do it and build New York State for it?
So I'm going to turn to our attorney.
I mean, we would reach out to the state and encourage them to do it.
Okay. If you could do that on your end. I'm just looking to get it
And we
cleaned up,
have.
that's all.
My office has reached out to them because this has been an ongoing issue there and also
I
over
just
by
think that we
RAF.
gotta keep it up, and they'll finally, it's like they complain enough, they're gonna go away.
So what you won't hear from us is this isn't, this isn't ours, so go someplace else. And so you saw you got in touch with Highway and Joe and
But
Christine.
again, that's the whole thing.
I know, and so Councilwoman Russell, also has been on top of it. So now, our attorney.
I gave her about a couple other projects, I don't even wanna get involved.
It's okay.
You are a gift that just keeps giving. Right.
But I
You're
tell
a
you
good
something,
gift,
I
though.
got a lot of people with a lot of compliments about the great job that you did on Cherry Lane. I'm just letting you know that.
Well, that's
Of
wonderful.
the
Thank you.
signage and everything else,
Great. That always good to hear.
And can we get better? Yeah, But anyway.
It can always be better,
Right.
and that's the purpose of public comment, is for you to let us know.
And I do appreciate you listening to me as opposed to, oh no, here he is again.
Oh, no.
But thank you.
We love that you come together.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So thank you, and we will. I think I'm too.
So if there's anything that you can do, I'll write an email tomorrow to Christine. Actually, I did write one to her.
Okay. Well, I'm sure
About
she appreciates the fact that
Well, I just
you're
wanna let you know
giving
what
her the
it's
credit,
outstanding.
and Joe Gerasi is actually here with us this evening, and I know he'll.
Works real well, let me tell you.
That's great.
Okay.
Wonderful to hear.
Thanks.
Thank you.
There are no other cards for public comment this time?
So I would just like to note that Michael O'Donnell is back with us. Mr. O'Donnell, we missed you. You're looking well, and we're glad to see you back. Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Wink, did you say something?
There are no other cards for public comment
Okay.
in my possession.
Good. So if you would please call items 6, 7, and 8 first, with the permission of the council, and then begin tonight's agenda.
Okay. Public hearings, item 6. A public hearing to consider the adoption of a local law amending Chapter 2 of the Town Code of the Town of North Hempstead entitled Administration and Enforcement.
All right, so we're proposing 2 amendments to our local laws tonight regarding the town's apprenticeship program. And we have some wonderful people here to, I guess, cheer us on, I would hope. Roger Clayman, Dick O'Kane, Art Gibson, Jack Matchcut? Okay, sorry. John Keating and John Durso. We're really so pleased that you're here. It's always wonderful to have you visit. So we already require that contractors in certain projects participate in the apprenticeship program. The amendments that we're proposing require that the apprenticeship program be one that has graduated at least one apprentice. So in other words, we're trying to close a loophole. This is this is legislation that we had passed already, but there was nothing in it to indicate that the apprenticeship program had to have a graduate. So this is our attempt to close that loophole. We've done outreach. We've heard from many of those who will be affected by the requirement, including today we got a letter from Mitch Pally of the Long Island Builders Institute and Kyle Strober with the Association for Better Long Island. We've taken all the input into consideration. We feel that these proposed amendments will benefit our residential and town projects. And, you know, we're always looking to see how we can do things better. So this is, you know, again, another step in that direction. The proposed amendment for Chapter 2 of the Town Code will require applicants for large building projects where the structure is 100,000 square feet or more to demonstrate that they've graduated at least one apprentice. I know there are some people who have come down to speak on these items, so I'd like to open up the floor, Mr. Wink, if there's any cards.
Madam Supervisor, would you like me also to call the public hearing for item 7 at the
Yes.
same time? Okay, item 7, a public hearing to consider the adoption of a local law amending Chapter 24 of the Town Code of the Town of North Hempstead entitled Governmental Operations. Both
Okay.
hearings are now open.
All right, so I'll just say my little spiel about that one. So this proposed amendment for Chapter 24 of the Town Code will require with certain town-related construction projects that the apprenticeship program show that they've graduated at least one apprentice. We're also changing the contract amount, and we've discussed it, from $250,000 to $500,000 in order to be in line with the current climate of construction costs and fees, because it seems whatever we're going out to bid on is coming in much higher than we've anticipated. So both of these hearings are open.
Okay, we have a number of cards on these items. The first one is Art Gibson.
Good evening, Supervisor,
Good evening.
Council. Just let me start by saying that I am the product of an apprenticeship program. I got into an apprenticeship program. I knew nothing about plumbing. I'm the business representative for Plumbers Local 200. 5 years of apprenticeship. There was the knowledge that I had, I could take it anywhere in the world. In fact, the hospitals in this area, I personally piped out all the emergency rooms, the operating rooms, the medical gases. They're still, it was probably 15 or 20 years ago that I did them, but they haven't redone them. So we've all had people that have been involved. I can't stress the importance enough of what I was taught to install. It made a difference on people's lives. That being said, my union, along with many of the other Nassau, Suffolk County building trade unions, we take in 25 apprentices every single year. We may lose a few over the 5 years, but our ratio is quite high, what we hold on to. We spend $500,000 just out of my local in our budget for our apprenticeship program. My international has about $420,000 throughout the nation in Canada. Hundreds of millions of dollars are spent. If one of my apprentices was to lose his job, get laid off, the contractor that he's working for, he goes to work for another contractor. He doesn't skip a beat. His training is there. It's September to June, just like schooling for our children. These other unions, if a man loses his job, he's out. There is no referral system. There's nowhere for him to further advance his education. Living on Long Island, we all know it. We are the middle class, the blue-collar union men. I mean, our parents could work at an A&P. Mom stayed home. You were a union person, and you fed a family of 4. Those days are long gone. Me, as a union rep, has a wife who's an accountant, has to go to work 40 hours a week just to make ends meet. I can't say enough about, I'd like to read one quick thing. This will pretty much, so this is an ad that the whole reason we're talking about this ratio thing is this union. This is what they put in Newsday on April 27th, 2017. The Joint Apprenticeship and Training Committee for Local 335 of the United Service Workers Union will begin taking applications Monday for 2 plumbers. Apprentices, officials said. Applications will be obtained at their address. Applicants should be 18, have a high school diploma or equivalency, be physically able to do sprinkler work. Now that's where it gets interesting, because my friend Jack over here is an electrician, and he has an outstanding apprenticeship program, but it's for electrical. It's not for concrete. So why do you have to have a plumbing apprenticeship program, have applicants that have to have experience and be able to do sprinkler work? Because all they want to do is have the title and be able to bid on these jobs. It brings nothing to the table for education. It brings nothing to the table for the advancement of the middle class. It's a scam. In my personal opinion, it's a scam. Why would they advertise it? And this is exactly what we're up against. We put our heart and souls into our future. We just took a class, and tonight is the starting night for my 25 brand new, out-of-the-box green apprentices. But at the end of 5 years, they'll be able to go anywhere in this country, anywhere in this world, and have a decent job, high-paying job, skilled labor. And we are at a short end. There is a huge need for everybody wants to have a white-collar job these days. We had 500 people apply for our 25 positions. Can't tell you how many of them had college degrees. That being said, the one person graduation ratio over 5 years, that's tough. That's really tough. It's hard to swallow.
It's a start.
It's a start, and we do appreciate
Okay.
that. But thank you. I just wanted to give you my 2 cents.
I'd like to just address that a little bit, because the supervisor and I have had a number of conversations. We used to have a labor advisory board in the town, where we met regularly with the union leaders.
Yes, I was a part of that.
So we can come up with the right thing for the town to do, the right positions to take. And the supervisor has agreed to reinstate that, and so very shortly, I think you'll all be communicated with, so that we can get that back up on track.
I'll bring the bagels.
Okay. It's a deal. Thank you.
Dick O'Kane.
And thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to speak here tonight. You mentioned the loophole. That loophole, you don't realize how big it is and the damage it does. And I can explain some of the damage if you don't mind, because I think it's very important. I was the business manager of a local union in conjunction with another local union. And we had a $40 million surplus in our health benefit plan. Things were going along pretty good, not great, but you know, we're moving along, and in a year and a half time, the $40 million evaporated because we didn't have any work. And the reason it evaporated was all of these people from out of town. They come from Kansas, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Florida, and all around. I mean, there's probably 20 states that they come from, and Ontario now. And I can show you pictures of the cars parked all together from the different states and on Ontario. And they were doing the work at substandard wages, and that's the thing that hurts. That's how we lost our benefits. For the first time in our careers, we had to take benefits away from our retirees. We had to charge them $150 each, themselves and their spouse, and if at that age they had children still in the household, we had to cover them. We had to take their eyeglasses away, their hearing aids away, and a number of other things, diabetic supplies, and that's when you need them. And then on top of that, we had retirees that didn't fit into those benefits because they had retired prior years earlier and weren't eligible for them. So that's a disgrace. And on the top of that, we had to take $4 an hour from the active members to try to build that fund up. Now, all of those things are they're bad, and it's because of all the people that come from here from all around the country, and you have to know that. So, we are losing our, we are losing people by 30%, they tell me, in the age group of 19 to 30 years of age. And, if we had, this language strengthened, and if other towns had it, period, many of your neighbors have it, and thank God, and thank you for looking into that and being cognizant of what goes on. We need that loophole to be closed. And what it's going to do, and I think you mentioned earlier, a level playing field. We are in the basement of every job that starts, and the people that come from around the country are on the 3rd and 4th floor already. So, we train our people at no cost to anybody, and that cost for one person is $35,000 to $50,000, depending on the trade they're training for. People come from all over the country. How do we know what training they have? They just walk in and do the jobs. All these people have to have permits, licenses, and as well as other, the many other trades. And we have to pay for that. And they just walk in here, sashay in here. But I want to enlighten you about how that's not a good thing, because in the last 2 years, 32 people were killed on Long Island and in New York City, and 85% of that number was unskilled people. So you have a township here. You don't want people getting injured on your jobs that are going up and doing things.
And so, what we want to see happen is we want to make sure that the people who are working in our town are skilled, because that's good, of course, for them, but it's so important for our residents to make sure that they're in buildings that are safe, that where things are done in the right way. So we appreciate your commitment to that.
Cheap turns out to be expensive, and there's no doubt about it. It gets truer every day. And, it's just something there. I don't want to leave anything out here because it's all important. But we have 59,000 members, of which many of them live here. And they all have sisters and brothers and, aunts and uncles and mothers and fathers that need these jobs. And they're good paying jobs. And one of the things, too, that's not good is that we don't always have work. So when these people come in and undermine it more, it makes it harder and harder and harder. Then we have to start cutting again and again and again. So I applaud you for looking into this situation and taking it and addressing it. You're doing the right thing. You're doing the humane thing. Your constituents will benefit from it, and we look forward to that happening. And I strongly urge you to pass it. It's going to be worth its weight in gold to the town and to the people that are the recipients of these jobs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Payne.
Jack Mackett? Mike. My apologies.
We're just not getting your name
right. No, I know.
It's a standard joke with the guys from the trades. All right. A lot of good points were made already on this. I did some prepared marks. They're very short, so I'm just going to read from it. Good evening, Supervisor Bosworth, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Jack Mikett. I am a business representative from the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 25. Local 25 represents several thousand working families here in Nassau and Suffolk County. We're all homegrown here. I am here in support of amending Chapter 2 and 24 of the Town of North Hempstead's Town Code, which pertains to the apprenticeship. This amendment would require the graduation from a New York State registered program. Over the last several years, there's been a movement on behalf of Nassau County, Suffolk County, numerous other townships such as Oyster Bay, Brookhaven, Huntington, City of Long Beach, the list goes on, and North Hempstead, I should say, because now you're amending it to make it even stronger, which we really appreciate. To strengthen the apprenticeship requirements that not only include prevailing wage projects, but private construction projects over a certain dollar amount and/or project size, usually the 100,000 square foot. Both Nassau and Suffolk County, Township of Brookhaven, City of Long Beach have included the language to ensure legitimate apprenticeship training programs are reaching the underlying goals of their apprenticeship training program, which is to graduate and achieve journeyman status. We're tired of seeing contractors come in from out of town And what they end up doing is they'll hire a couple of guys, say that they're part of their apprenticeship program, then they lay them off, and they rehire and lay them off. They never climb the ladder to make it to that goal, which is the journeyman. You know, now, a lot of, I lost my place here. A lot of townships have done this by requiring anyone prior to entering a construction agreement with that said township to submit certificates of completion showing they've graduated at least one apprentice from the state-approved registered program in which the trade they're performing or contracted for. To me, this is one of the most important recent changes which the legislators of Nassau County, Suffolk County, Long Beach, Brookhaven, Babylon all have adopted. To require apprenticeship and not have that apprentice ever graduate is very disingenuous to the individual. I strongly urge the board to consider this option when drafting the new town code. For for your convenience, I have I'll submit a couple of laws in place already from the Nassau, Suffolk, and Long Beach.
So Jack, so we're going to be voting on this evening. And this is
Okay, you
something
are
that we
voting
can
on it
always,
tonight. Okay, I didn't know. I
look at.
didn't realize.
Yeah.
Okay, so well, you have it anyway.
And we do. Okay.
So both Nassau, Suffolk Township, Brookhaven, Long Beach have included language to ensure legitimate apprenticeship training programs are reaching underlying goals, which I said, and I just once again want to say that Local 25 supports this wholeheartedly, and thank you for moving forward with this.
Okay. Thank you for coming out.
I have no other cards on this item.
Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on this? All right. So I'd like to close the public hearing, and so Wayne, you did both of them, so we're moving for the adoption of both of the amendments.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask for 2 votes as to item 6. Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
And as to item 7, Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Okay, the next item, resolutions, item 8, a resolution rescinding resolution number 200-2003, adopted May 13th, 2003, and resolution number 678, 2015, adopted September 29th, 2015.
So this will rescind the town's previous resolution from 2003 with regard to our apprenticeship language, as to not have any conflicts with the local law that we just amended. So I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Okay.
So thank you, really thank you for coming out. It was good to. And you'll be hearing from us because we will, in fact, reconstitute.
And that was a fantastic program that really laid everything out so that we made sure not only that the jobs were performed, but that the contractors had that, but with the prevailing wage was also a major part of that. Make sure that there is a reasonably good wage for people to work and live on Long Island. So,
And we all support that
absolutely.
heartily.
Entire board supports it.
Okay. So thank you, and thank you for all the great work that you do in our town. You can go.
You don't have to. You are welcome to stay. Take care.
We got what we wanted up there. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Continuations. Item 1, a public hearing to consider the application of 132F Realty Corp. for a special use permit for the premises located at 1011 Lakeville Road, New Hyde Park, and designated on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map as Section 8, Block 10, Lots 40 through 48.
Good evening, everyone. This is a little complicated. So this public hearing is for a special use permit and is a continuation from the July 18, 2017 Town Board meeting. It is to consider the application of the property owner to alter the existing gasoline station at this location. However, the owner has withdrawn their application for a permit to install 4 underground storage tanks, which is item number 2 on the agenda. They have presented a new application, which is on this agenda as item 9, and which is a set date for a public hearing to be held at the next town board meeting on September 26, 2017. So, because of this, I am requesting at this time that my fellow board members vote to continue the public hearing for the special use permit until that date. However, since this is a public hearing on the published agenda, is there anyone wishing to be heard?
I'd like to speak. Just one housekeeping. Somebody left the pad up at the podium.
I'll be quick. But
Sir, I'm going to ask you to identify your name and community
Mike
for the record.
Mike Diegas, 46
Thank you.
Manley Place, New Hyde Park. 40-plus years resident, very happy in New Hyde Park. I'll make up for the earlier speakers that didn't speak up. I'm loud. I want to thank the board for giving me the opportunity, and again, I'll make this quick. And looking over some of the recommendations that were made, I feel it's important because as a resident and other residents here, we tolerated a lot of things from that prior facility. Ms. Seaman was very helpful. Mr. Pitnick was very helpful. But sometimes, you know, the laws don't, you know, the things don't work exactly how you want them, even though you're getting help and support. I don't want things to go wrong in the future. One of my concerns is, and other residents have felt, that the hours proposed are too lengthy. Again, it's a residential community surrounded on all sides except for the firehouse by private homes. The proposal now has it going from 6 in the morning till 10 at night. And an allowance for preparation time before and for preparation time after for the facility to close down. That translates roughly into 5 to 11. I think in the middle of a residential community, that's not appropriate. We didn't have that in the past, except for the violations by those trucks and everything. I think, or I feel that 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. would be sufficient. In support of that type of hourly timeline, the firehouse does not sound its sirens before 8 o'clock in the morning. They don't do it late at night after 8 o'clock unless it's an unusual emergency. Lawn services that come around don't start mowing the lawns at 6 o'clock in the morning. We want the same consideration to come from this facility because we have a lot of concerns that go with it. Late hours, you know, places get held up. I mentioned the last time there's one on Hillside Avenue, right on the corner, bulletproof cashier. You know when those places get held up? Not in the middle of the day. If I were a crook, I guess, you know, I don't want to think that way, but I think the time to do it is when there's no one around. 10 o'clock at night is too late for the middle of a residential community when you can go right down 2 blocks to Hillside Avenue and get multiple gas stations, or right down to Jericho Turnpike and get gas stations. I'd like you to consider that and put yourself in our place. If you were living there, would you want that place again with the lights shining into your homes, etc.? I already noticed 2 light stanchions that are up there. They're near the corner, near the sidewalk, parallel to Lakeville Road. One of them faces one of my neighbor's houses, Mr. Unger. That light is going to be shining there. Those lights shouldn't be parallel to Lakeville Road. They should be turned inward. Let the gas station get those lights. Maybe change them to 45 degrees. 45 degrees, not what they are now. Again, these are all things that can pop up. I'm saying this now because I spent many times making phone calls I didn't want to make. I don't want to have to call complaining later. Oh, you're letting them stay open till 10 o'clock. Guess what? It's 10:30. Someone just pulled in. They're not chasing them away. Make it a reasonable hour. Put yourselves in our place. You're living there. 8 o'clock is enough. 8 o'clock in the winter time, it's dark.
Mr. Diegas, I'm going to ask you, your 3 minutes have expired.
I thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you made an interesting, and I know this isn't the hearing, but about the light shining into someone's house. I would have to assume that when these plans are okayed, or that's not something that's allowed to occur.
We have a code provision in place already that prohibits that, and we'll certainly work with the applicant to make sure, and code enforcement to make sure that they comply.
Okay, thank you.
Please consider the time.
We hear you.
We have time. Okay. Mr. O'Brien, did you want?
I'm sorry, I just wasn't sure if there were any other speakers. So I take it that there are no other speakers? Okay.
I have no cards on the item.
Okay. As indicated, I don't think I want to, we could address the issues, the lighting issues have all been addressed. I don't think it'd be appropriate at this particular time, unless the board, wants me to.
No, we'll do it at the hearing.
But otherwise, I join in sort of the application that we withdraw the 4 10,000-gallon tanks, and that the new hearing be scheduled for the 2 15,000-gallon tanks, and that this hearing be continued so that they all kind of flow together.
All right. I would just, like to add that, clearly the residents have many concerns. And so as we do the hearing, I know that you will be hearing, and that's what hearing's for, so that we're all here to listen.
Understood, and my door is always open.
Good.
I know we've met before, and I know I can't always make everybody happy as much as I try, whether it be my own family or in a public setting.
Yeah, we all try.
I can't get them to agree on what they're going to have for dinner at night, but I try.
Right.
So between now and then, my door is open as well. The town has been extremely, helpful in trying to bring everybody together as well. So we'll do whatever we can to build as much consensus under the circumstances that we possibly can.
Okay.
They have my card. I'll give it to them again as well. And then
So
hopefully we'll see you on the 26th.
Yeah. So is there somebody else that would like to make a comment?
Hi, my name is Carol Conlon. I'm a resident at 39 Manley Place in New Hyde Park. I just wanted to clarify, the lights that we're talking about that are shining in the Younger's house are on now. They have temporary construction lights up, and they're shining in their house now. Could they not wait till the 26th to redirect them? Okay, that's it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
All right. So she said that that there are construction lights now that are shining into the Unger's home, and so that needs to be addressed.
I'll immediately, as I leave, I will send a text message
Please.
to the owner of the property to have that addressed and have it addressed tomorrow.
Good.
Is there anyone else that'd like to be heard?
Thank you.
So, seeing no one, I close the public hearing, offer the resolution.
Wait, Councilwoman, I thought, if I understood, that you wanted to continue the hearing
Yeah, we're
to
gonna-
September 26th, contemporaneous with
Yes.
the item that's going to be set on item 9. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. So then,
Mr. Villegas, we have lots to speak about. We will
Okay.
talk. Yes.
all right, so then
Thank you.
as to item 1, Councilwoman DeGiorgio,
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara,
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan,
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell,
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman,
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman, Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 2, a public hearing pursuant to Chapter 29A of the Town Code to consider the application of 132F Realty Corp. for a permit to install 4 underground fuel storage tanks at the premises located at 1011 Lakeville Road, New Hyde Park, New York, and designated on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map as Section 8, Block 10, Lots 40 through 48.
So this public hearing is the one that I previously mentioned in item number 1. The applicant has withdrawn this application. I am requesting that the members of the town board vote no on this application. However, since this is a public hearing on our agenda, is there anyone wishing to be heard on this? Okay, so?
But there's one person.
No,
One
person.
Oh, okay.
My name is Sunny An from 52 Manley Place. I don't want to repeat what was just spoken, but as rest of the residents wants to really emphasize the importance of the hours. So I just want to say that. So thank
Forgive
you
me,
for
can
the
you
record.
spell your name for the record?
Sure,
Just-
Sunny, SUNNY, 52 Manley Place.
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're going to just do this vote, and then certainly, we understand if you would like to leave.
Okay.
So I see no one else, so I close the public hearing, offer the resolution, and ask that the town board members vote no on this application.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
No.
Councilman Ferrara.
No.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
No.
Councilwoman Russell.
No.
Councilwoman Seaman.
No.
Councilman Zuckerman.
No.
Supervisor Bosworth.
No.
Okay. Public hearings, item 3.
Okay, so just
Oh,
if anybody, if you'd like to stay for the rest of the meeting, that's
Well,
wonderful, but if you'd like to
Madam
leave,
Supervisor,
this would be it.
in the interest of keeping continuity,
Yes.
Would you like that I call item 9 to do the set date for this hearing for September 26th?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so it's just
So
this is
while
a
you're
set
here,
date.
okay.
Thank you.
Item 9, a resolution setting a date for a public hearing pursuant to Chapter 29A of the Town Code to consider the application of 132F Realty Corp. for a permit to install 2 underground fuel storage tanks at the premises located at 1011 Lakeville Road, New Hyde Park, New York, and designated on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map as Section 8, Block 10, Lots 40 through 48.
Okay. This is a replacement application for the underground storage tanks that I had mentioned in items 1 and 2. So I offer the resolution setting a date for a public hearing on September 26, 2017, and I move for its adoption.
Okay, Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
So Councilwoman Seaman, when you said this was complicated, you weren't kidding. And I say aye. Okay. All right, so now, if you'd like to leave. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Public hearings, item 3. A public hearing to consider the adoption of an ordinance affecting Madison Avenue and Garden City Park.
The adoption of this ordinance will establish a 2-hour parking restriction on the north side of Madison Avenue for a short distance east of 7th Avenue in Garden City Park. Anyone wishing to be heard on this? Seeing no one, I'd like to close the public hearing, offer the resolution, move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 4, a public hearing to consider the adoption of an ordinance establishing a reserved parking space on Orchard Street in Port Washington.
The adoption of this ordinance will establish a reserved parking space on the west side of Orchard Street, south of Park Avenue in Port Washington. Mr. Wink, do you have any cards?
I have no cards on this item.
Does anyone wish to be heard on this item? Seeing no one, I'd like to close the public hearing, offer the resolution, and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 5, a public hearing to consider the adoption of an ordinance affecting State Street in Westbury, Newcastle.
This is an ordinance that was requested by a resident at Cathedral Place because the site clearance was limited due to cars parking too close to the exit driveway. Is there anyone here wishing to be heard? Seeing no one, I'd like to close the public hearing, offer the resolution, and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Sorry, I did also want to mention that she did send in a letter in support of this resolution. It's been given to the clerk's office as part of the record. Aye.
Okay. Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 10, a resolution setting a date for a public hearing to consider the adoption of an ordinance affecting 85th Avenue and Floral Park Center.
So, I'd like to offer the resolution and set the hearing date for September 26, 2017.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 11, a resolution setting a date for a public hearing to consider the rescission and adoption of an ordinance affecting Yale Street in Roslyn Heights.
I'd like to offer the resolution setting a hearing date of September 26, 2017.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 12, a resolution setting a date for a public hearing to consider the adoption of an ordinance affecting Manor Avenue and Yale Street in Roslyn Heights.
I'd like to offer the resolution setting a tentative hearing date of September 26, 2017.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 13, a resolution authorizing the town board to accept gifts to the town.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 14, a resolution authorizing supplemental budget appropriations pursuant to Town Law, Section 112.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 15, a resolution ratifying the preparation and submission of an application to the U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Transit Administration's Enhanced Mobility of Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities, Section 5310 program, and authorizing the taking of related action.
So this is to apply for a grant for an additional $1 million for our program for seniors and also for transporting individuals with disabilities. And so we're hoping that we'll be successful with it. I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 16, a resolution authorizing the award of a bid for replacement of handball courts in Michael J. Tully Park, New Hyde Park, New York, DPW project number 16-08.
I'd like to offer the resolution, move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 17, a resolution authorizing the award of a bid for resurfacing of courts, TNH 181-2017.
So I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
And Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
So I just wanted to add that this is for resurfacing of courts in Bunkie Reed and in Broadway Park. And I say aye.
Item 18, a resolution authorizing the award of a bid for planting, TNH 182-2017.
Okay. This really makes me happy. Michael O'Donnell, are you listening? Thank you. This is just a bid now, but it's for beautiful plantings on the hillside mediums. This is great.
Mr. O'Donnell has submitted a card. He would like to speak.
So can I say again how happy we are that you're here with us again? Okay.
And yesterday he promised he wouldn't walk alone in the city.
Yeah.
I'll take you things.
Okay, I'll be there.
Michael O'Donnell, 15 Jersey Street, North, New Hyde Park. I want to thank the board for moving on this project on Hillside Avenue. As you know, Hillside, especially from the city line, is the entrance to this county and to this town, to our town. But I thank the supervisor for having Ms. Summers notify me of what was proceeding on this project. And looking forward to looking at the actual plans of what's going to go on. I know almost everybody else is very happy that something is going and that the town is doing what.
So the plant list is actually part of the bid, which is on our website. But if you, Steph, can you just speak to that?
Excuse me, Supervisor Bosworth, I'm just looking at the backup on this item, and I need to recuse myself on this.
Oh, well,
So
okay
I'm
then.
sorry. That's why I needed my glasses, because I couldn't read the, thank you.
Okay. Or Maura, whoever.
Barbara, the Director of Purchasing. The bid documents include a list of the plants and the plans for the planting. It's on the website, so I can refer you to that if you like. I can go print it out for you.
With the plants, you also have the site for certain plants, or what type of plants is going with each site, am I correct?
We have a
Or just
plan.
this is a general.
There's a general list of the plants, and then there's a plan. It doesn't say specifically which plant is going where, but a general plan of how the plantings are going to look. I can give you a copy of it. Okay?
And you know, Councilwoman Seaman was just so insistent upon this happening. You know, as were we all. We wanted to see this happen, and the plants that were chosen are plants that will do well on a median, that won't require a lot of water, to avoid so many of the mistakes that were made when this was done before. So hopefully, there's a tremendous commitment to make sure that this is done right, that it will be done beautifully, and that it will enhance Hillside Avenue.
Thank you. I thank the town. I thank you.
Okay. So, again, I am happy to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilman Ferrara?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell?
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman?
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman?
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth?
Aye.
Okay, would someone please invite Councilwoman DeGiorgio back into the room? Item 19, a resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement with Whiteman, Osterman, and Hanna LLP for legal counsel services.
Oh, it's mine, I'm sorry. I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio?
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell?
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman?
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman?
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth?
Aye.
Item 20, a resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement for engineering services for the design of a rain garden at Harbor Links Golf Course parking lot, DPW project number 17-18.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio?
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell?
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman?
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman?
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth?
Aye.
Item 21, a resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement for Roslyn Train Station median removal and parking lot improvements, DPW project number 17-14.
I'd like to offer the resolution to move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio?
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell?
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman?
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman?
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth?
Aye.
Item 22, a resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement with statewide installations for in-ground auto lift repair at the Denton Avenue Highway Yard, New Hyde Park.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio?
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell?
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman?
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman?
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth?
Aye.
Item 23, a resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement with the H2M Architects and Engineers for an evaluation of park infrastructure at Clark Botanic Gardens, Albertson.
I'd like to offer the resolution to move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio?
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell?
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman?
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman?
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth?
Aye.
Item 24, a resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement with Big Apple Striping for parking lot restriping at Clark Botanic Gardens, Albertson.
I'd like to offer the resolution to move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio?
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell?
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman?
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman?
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth?
Aye.
Item 25, a resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement with Angelica Strawman, CPA, for accounting services for the Office of the Receiver of Taxes.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio?
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell?
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman?
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman?
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth?
Aye.
Item 26, a resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement with the Inn at New Hyde Park for the 4th Regional Aging in Place Suburbia Conference and Expo.
So this is exciting. It's going to be November 1st. The Aging in Place Conference is something that is a great opportunity for seniors to avail themselves of a lot of different information. It's going to be at the Inn at New Hyde Park this year, and I would like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio?
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 27, a resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement with Store Tractor for service to the Flotronics irrigation system at various town facilities.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 28, a resolution authorizing the town to use an agreement entered into between the County of Nassau and EMSL Analytical, Inc. for asbestos testing.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 29, a resolution authorizing the use of an agreement between the County of Suffolk and Water King, Inc., DBA Once Certified Backflow Testing for backflow prevention device testing.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 30, a resolution authorizing the use of an agreement between the County of Nassau and WB Mason for bottled water delivery townwide.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 31, a resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement with Nassau BOCES for the purchase of vehicles townwide.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 32, a resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement with Residents for More Beautiful Port Washington, Inc. for the use of a Port Washington Public Parking District lot.
I offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth. Item 33, a resolution ratifying the execution of an amendment to an agreement with Lyro Engineers, Inc. for engineering services related to the reconstruction of Clinton G. Martin parking lot, New Hyde Park, New York, DPW project number 17-09.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 34, a resolution authorizing the execution of amendments to agreements between the town and various incorporated villages and school districts for the storage of road salt.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 35, a resolution authorizing a change of street address from 114 McKinley Avenue, Albertson, New York, to 25 Lee Avenue, Albertson, New York, to 25 Lee Avenue, Albertson, New York, 27 Lee Avenue, Albertson, New York, and 29 Lee Avenue, Albertson, New York, affecting the property known and designated as Section 9, Block 54, lots 793 through 795, formerly lots 760 through 767, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 36, a resolution authorizing the purchase from ISI Telemanagement Solutions of upgrades, software support, and maintenance of the town's phone reporting application.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 37, a resolution authorizing payment to Goodman Marks Associates for appraisal services.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 38, a resolution authorizing the purchase from Motorola Solutions of annual software maintenance for the town's 311 system.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 39, a resolution amending the Town of North Hempstead 2017 capital plan.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 40, bond resolution of the Town of North Hempstead, New York, adopted September 7, 2017, authorizing the construction of improvements to elevators, stating the estimated total cost thereof is $250,000, appropriating $150,000 in addition to the $100,000 heretofore appropriated for such purpose, and authorizing the issuance of bonds of the town in the principal amount of not to exceed $150,000 in addition to the $100,000 bonds heretofore authorized.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 41, bond resolution of the Town of North Hempstead, New York, adopted September 7, 2017, authorizing the construction of road improvements, stating the estimated total cost thereof is $2,900,000, appropriating $500,000 in addition to the $2,400,000 heretofore appropriated for such purpose, and authorizing the issuance of bonds of the town in the principal amount of not to exceed $500,000 in addition to $2,400,000 bonds heretofore authorized.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 42, bond resolution of the Town of North Hempstead, New York, adopted September 7, 2017, authorizing the construction of a dock for non-motorized vessels in Port Washington, New York, stating the estimated maximum cost thereof is $700,000, appropriating said amount for such purpose, and authorizing the issuance of bonds in the principal amount of $700,000 to finance said appropriation.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 43, a resolution making an appointment to the Manhasset Bay Protection Committee.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye, but I just, would like to say, this is an appointment of Carol Frank to the committee, and she's going to be serving on the committee until such time as we appoint an officer of sustainability, and then there's the possibility that the Office of Sustainability would then take that place, but in the meantime, we want to make sure that we have representation on the committee. So I say aye.
Item 44, a resolution authorizing the employment, appointment, transfer, adjustment, correction, change in grade or salary, and/or termination of employees and/or officials in various departments of the town.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
No.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 45, a resolution authorizing the payment of claims against the town of North Hempstead and authorizing and directing the controller or deputy controller to pay the costs thereof.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 46, a resolution approving the action of the Protection Engine Company No. 1, Port Washington, New York, and electing to membership Eric J. Agizabal Sandoval.
I offer the resolution to move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 47, a resolution approving the action of the Atlantic Hook and Ladder Company No. 1, Inc., Port Washington, New York, and electing to membership Nicholas Alexander Hagedorn and removing Robert Gray and Leonard Warsan Sr.
I offer the resolution to move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 48, a resolution approving the action of the Roslyn Highlands Hook and Ladder Engine and Hose Company, Roslyn Heights, New York, and electing Estras Cabral to membership.
I'd like to offer the resolution to move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Farrar.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 49, a resolution approving the action of the Fire Medic Company Number 1, Port Washington, New York, in electing to membership Gretchen Boschool, Lindsay Falconer, and Brian Johns.
I offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Farrar.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye.
Item 50, a resolution approving the action of the Alert Engine Hook Ladder and Hose Company Number 1, Inc., Great Neck, New York, in adding Benjamin S. Kobliner and removing from membership Ethan Solomkin.
I'd like to offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye. I'd like to move to adjourn.
Councilwoman DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Councilman Ferrara.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaplan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Russell.
Aye.
Councilwoman Seaman.
Aye.
Councilman Zuckerman.
Aye.
Supervisor Bosworth.
Aye. And Mr. Wink, if you'd please call the Solid Waste Management Board meeting to order.
Yes. Town of North Hempstead Solid Waste Management Authority, Tuesday, September 7th, 2017. Member DeGiorgio.
Here.
Member Ferrara.
Here.
Member Kaplan.
Here.
Member Russell.
Here.
Member Seaman.
Here.
Member Zuckerman.
Here.
Chairperson Bosworth.
Here. Mr. Wink, if you'd please begin tonight's agenda.
Resolutions. Item 1, a resolution authorizing the employment, appointment, transfer, adjustment, correction, change in grade or salary, and/or termination of employees and/or officials within the authority.
I offer the resolution and move for its adoption.
Member DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Member Kaplan, Member Ferrara.
Aye.
Member Kaplan.
Aye.
Member Russell.
Aye.
Member Seaman.
Aye.
Member Zuckerman.
Aye.
Chairperson Bosworth.
Aye. I move to adjourn.
Member DeGiorgio.
Aye.
Member Ferrara.
Aye.
Member Kaplan.
Aye.
Member Russell.
Aye.
Member Seaman.
Aye.
Member Zuckerman.
Aye.
Chairperson Bosworth.
Aye. Thank you all for being here. Happy end of summer, and we'll see you in the fall.
Yes, I will be here before.